Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Supersensible Steve Show. I'm Supersensible Steve, and this week we'll be looking at monkeys. Ghost monkeys. Apes, actually. As a young ghost, I grew up watching lots and lots of Most Haunted. So I want to go back and look at the very first episode of Most Haunted, way back in 2002. The first episode was filmed in Athelhampton Hall in Dorset. This is a Grade 1 listed building dating back to the 15th century. Former Lord Mayor of London, Sir William Martin, built the Great Hall around 1493. Numerous spirits are said to reside at the hall, but one entity in particular stands out. What happens when a cat or dog just won't cut it as a pet? Obviously, next step up is an ape. Sir William Martin had access to ships returning to port from all over the globe, and was able to bring back the beast from a faraway land. Unfortunately, however, his furry friend met an unpleasant end. The ape apparently followed a daughter of Sir William into a secret room beyond the Great Chamber. Unbeknownst to the young woman, the ape was locked in behind the wood panelling as she left. The ape starved to death, and it's said they can still hear the creature clawing at the walls, trying to escape. Also present in the Great Chamber, the Grey Lady wanders the corridors of the upper floor, seemingly passing through solid walls. Various other spirits have been seen over the years, including a hooded priest walking down the driveway, 2 dueling swordsmen, and a lone soldier enjoying the gardens. Now, before we take a look at some of the footage, I just want to say I will not be talking about Derek Acorah. There's a lot of history between Derek and the Most Haunted team, especially around fakery. Regardless of all that, I grew up with this man on my TV screen and he brought me many hours of entertainment, of which I have many fond memories.
What is it, Derek? You alright?
Mary loves Dick. Mary loves Dick.
Derek, we miss you already. I also want to make it clear that I'll never suggest that any form of evidence shown in this channel has been faked with any malicious intent. We will at some point be looking at how easy or difficult it is to fake a ghost captured on video with digital or practical effects, but for now, let's just enjoy some classic Most Haunted. The first interesting piece of this show is when the Most Haunted team are sat around the fire with the owner and their dog. Now, Rick's going to hit us with a bit of foreshadowing here straight off the bat.
Is it true that animals can actually see ghosts, or is that just a myth?
Oh, it's not a myth, Rick. It's very true. Because they've not got the intellect and they don't use the brain like us people, and they go off their pure senses anyway.
Can I interrupt you? I'm sorry, but can you just look at Alfie? What is he looking at? Because he's not looking at me, and I know that sounds daft, but he's looking in between me and her.
Yeah,
What's he?
Yeah, he's aware. Look at him.
Oh, good God, what's here?
I was really hungry.
See, there's no shadow there now, can
Yeah, you have to remember though that this is an unusual situation for him as a dog. There's lots of heights.
He's been normal all of a sudden. As soon as you mention that one question, then he pipes up like that.
A moment ago, he was looking over. He was looking at
but it's not evidence.
So Jason Carl here is acting as a bit of a parapsychologist for the group. He's now the president of the Ghost Research Foundation International, but he's also a presenter and actor. But here he's trying to ground the team and keep them from finding all sorts of reasons for this dog looking at a random spot in the hall. My opinion on this piece here is that there's loads of new equipment in the building. Dogs can hear a lot better than humans can. I think probably something's made a noise and the dogs reacted to that.
In actual fact, Sam says, this really belongs to William.
What belongs to William?
This building,
The house.
the house, belongs to him in his heart.
What is that noise? Shh, shh.
It was doing it definitely with quite a lot of
With control, yeah, and that's a heavy cot, so you'd need a lot of physical strength.
Yes.
So this next one's a little bit more difficult to try and explain. If you're not, I suggest that someone has actually gone in there to rock it. The cot does look pretty heavy, but I wouldn't say it demands a lot of physical strength, as Jason implies here. I think maybe the dog, again, popped in there and knocked it and set it off. So as the night's gone on, we reach the best part of any paranormal investigation, and that's turning out the lights. Rick here is experiencing something quite unusual.
Oh, I don't like it. Just went in here then, assuming it come from that side, and I've just walked in there and it just feels absolutely awful, and I cannot go in there.
What are you feeling when you walk forward?
Oh, I don't like it.
What is it you feel?
What is it you don't like?
What is it? Explain.
It just doesn't feel right.
So one of the most fascinating things for me about the paranormal is something called infrasound. So that's a frequency of sound that is below what a human can hear, but they can still feel it. And that triggers a fight or flight response with the human. Actually, 18.9 hertz is dubbed the fear frequency, which I think is great. I couldn't say where this frequency is coming from, but I think Rick has probably worked himself up now that the lights are out. It might be his first ghost investigation, maybe. It's the first episode, sure. I think we've all had this feeling at one point or another, and because everything's been built up, I think it's probably just got the better of him. The last scene I want to look at is Jason and Yvette going back to the room where the cot was in. They sat in the room looking at the cot, and they found this on camera.
What if it moved on its own?
I'd be quite excited if it did. I've never actually seen an object move of its own accord. I've heard things moving. I've never actually seen something with my own eyes moving. I've seen it on video. Wow. Now did you see the way that flickered as it came out? Because dust just moves erratically. It doesn't move in straight lines. Now those are impressive.
Now Jason talks about dust here, and we'd call these orbs. Maybe flashing orbs aren't as common, but in photography there's an optical phenomenon called backscatter. And while the room looks like it's in complete darkness, what is actually happening is the camera's shining infrared light onto the subject. That light is invisible to the naked eye, but the camera can see what's going on. So this flashing may be kind of a flake of dust, if you think of it in a small plate, and as it's tumbling through the air, the light is catching the surface as it tumbles. So that's going to be it for the very first episode of the Supersensible Steve Show. If you enjoyed it, why don't you drop a like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
A nice lady, but I feel as if she's got this great love for Dick.
Right.
For Dick.
Okay.
Great love.